Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of December 22nd, 2013. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Well, by far one of the most important celestial occurrences to take place happens right in the middle of the month, and this is Mars standing across the sky from Uranus. Now, one very textbook way of looking at this is, and I got to put it out there because I do think that, especially when you're a student of astrology, the way that you first approach the language of astrology can sometimes be very much on the surface. And one thing that I really love about astrology, particularly modern astrology, is that more and more we understand that there are layers of expression, that ultimately these energies, these symbols in the sky represent archetypes. They're acting as mirrors to some of our deeper lessons. And we have a tremendous amount to say and do in terms of the way that we channel our free will in how these energies can manifest and be realized in our lives. And so we've got Mars and Uranus standing across from each other. On a very surface level, I have to say, some people would say, look, drive carefully. Okay, you want to watch out for accidents and things like that. And really, all it needs is just a little bit of awareness, a little bit of caution, and you could find yourself just really, really grateful for having stepped back at just the perfect moment or having navigated a situation just right so that you avoided a certain situation. However, having said that, as I said, there are layers to the way that this manifests. And when I look at these two symbols, I think about how Uranus is the planet of revelation, of rebellion, certainly. But it is the planet of really insight, of just all of a sudden realizing something and feeling like you have a brand new perspective. It's a light bulb moment, if you will. And Mars is a planet of action, of urgency. Mars is anything but subtle. Mars is very much a planet that says it must be done right now. And when you have two planets standing across from each other in the sky, that celestial conversation tends to play itself out more in relationships in terms of how we have to be with people. With people, we tend to be looking at them from across the way. We have to stand in front of them to see them across from us. And so it is with the planets as well. So it is with the sky. When we have two planets standing opposite each other, it tends to manifest in a way that has to do with relationships and relating. And so you put these together, and it does suggest a time when our interactions with other people trigger a light bulb moment, trigger an awareness. And I think that this is especially true given that Mars is moving through Libra, and Uranus, of course, is in the sign of Aries. Aries, very much the sign of self. Libra, very much the sign of the other, of partnership, of understanding another perspective. And it is in understanding another perspective that we are then able to take that and utilize that towards a greater sense of freedom and a greater sense of happiness for ourselves. What's also really interesting about what's taking place this week is that we have the sun on the 21st, moving into the sign of Capricorn. So we had the winter solstice. Happy winter solstice, everybody out there. And just a few days later, we will have Mercury moving into the sign of Capricorn as well. And so Mercury and the sun tend to travel quite closely together. And we've got these two planets traveling close together, moving into Capricorn around the same time, and both planets reaching out to Neptune at around the same time. And if you watched last week's weekly horoscope, you'll know that Venus is also retrograde. Venus starts to go backwards in a rare sort of retro cycle, I like to call it, starting on the solstice as well on the 21st. And so I look at these energies together, all of these, the sun and Mercury and Venus, and to me, this looks like hope, really, is what it comes down to. It looks like having an ideal, wanting love, wanting the fantasy, wanting romance, wanting to be swept away. And when these planets are speaking in harmony with Neptune, when the sun and Mercury is there speaking in harmony, it encourages action. This certain type of harmonious conversation called a sextile encourages action among us all, action to move us towards that ideal image that we feel and believe can be ours. You know, I like to say that really falling in love requires fantasy. It requires hope. It requires being able to look at things maybe a little bit different than they actually are knowing that that's part of the process, that hope is what really allows you to even take the chance to actually move towards a deeper love eventually, once you open yourself more to who the other person is and you open yourself up more to owning your own lessons as well. So this is a necessary step in the process. How all this speaks to you in your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. This week, with Uranus still moving through your sign, Mars reaching out, it does suggest that the light bulb moment I spoke of in the intro is very much reaching right into your heart. And so it's something very personal. It's something very much about a shift in identity, very possible now, likely to be facilitated by another, likely to be facilitated by an interaction you have, a one-on-one. Possibly love is one thing, attraction that triggers this, but it could fall into other contexts as well. But regardless, however this energy chooses to manifest for you, whomever it is that ends up being that mirror for you, ultimately it is about you having an awakening, you understanding where you are ready really for some big changes to happen. And I think that this week is going to provide the important groundwork for you to really launch yourself into some very big and new things and bold things in the new year coming up next week. Hello, fabulous Taurus. For you this week, I really love the very harmonious energy that's taking place for you. So all this energy building in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is a very harmonious sign to you. And I look at this and I think about how friends could add inspiration. Friendships could add this element of an expanded vision. And so Capricorn very much represents vision in your part of the sky that has to do with such things. And we've got Neptune there speaking to friendships. And so you put all these together and it does suggest a time when, really what I'm seeing is you sort of gathering with people and just sharing your dreams and sharing your hopes and thinking about what you love and thinking about what love is supposed to be and where you are and how you can move yourself in that direction. All in all, there's a lot of really positive energy for you happening. Anything other than positive seems to be just an underlying restless energy. And so I would say to you, just sort of flow with that, navigate that, because ultimately that restless energy is going to resolve itself in the dream space. And what you really want to do is focus on where the positive energy is coming in, the inspiration is coming in. And there certainly is a lot of that happening. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week for you, I really find it very intriguing that you are sort of building towards a greater and greater understanding of finances, financial independence, but more than that, where it is that sharing actually adds a lot more to your life. Now, there's a financial element to that, of course, because it does look like you are seeing the possibility of you receiving some money. Now, there's going to be further developments in that, okay, further steps that need to be taken. But just know that that possibility presents itself to you, and you have every reason to have genuine hope for that manifesting. Having said that, at the same time, I do think that there is an element here of you not only accepting this in terms of finances, but also understanding that this is an energy of care. This is energy of sharing that's coming in. This is an energy of allowing yourself to be open to the fact that maybe you need help or maybe you want support. And it doesn't have to take the form of finances. It could very well take the form of emotional support as well. But it looks like that promise is there for you. And if you allow yourself to be just a little bit open, I think you'll surprise yourself by how there are a lot of people out there who really do care for you and want to support you and act as cheerleader, if not much more, to who you are and all the ambitions that you have going forward up ahead. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week, what I really love about this week for you is this buildup, of course, in relationship energy. And if any sign is one that's going to see love as very ideal, it'll be you this week. It looks like you certainly are swept away. Maybe you're making some plans, some very special plans to actually be connected to another person. Maybe you're the one planning sort of a romantic, hoping to sweep someone away. And it looks like you're learning a lot about yourself. There's a lot of happiness and a lot of hope in this. And so just cherish that, because it does look like the sky is on your side in terms of actually making this, making whatever it is that you hope for and you plan for go off well, or at least to have the inspiration this week to really believe in love, or at least have your desire to be love awakened very strongly for you now. And that should add a lot of beauty and should really allow you to feel a sense of expansion in your own heart. Hello, fabulous Leo. In the intro, I spoke about how energies ultimately represent an archetype and have a whole spectrum of expression. And if there is anybody who I think is going to utilize the energy this week to the highest good of all concerned, to the highest harmony of all concerned, I do think that that is likely to be you. I look at the positioning of Mars and Uranus in the sky, and it does look very harmonious for you, just from the perspective of where they are placed in the sky for you, from the position that you are in the sky. And then I also look at the fact that you've got the sun speaking in harmony with Neptune, the sun in a position of the sky that has to do with seeing a thing very deeply, looking at the very core of a thing, and through that perception, experiencing transformation. So you put these together, you look at the very high sort of communicative energy that's taking place this week, and it does suggest that really it is conversations that are going to trigger awarenesses that in turn are going to very quickly be utilized to your advantage, very quickly be utilized to move yourself towards greater inspiration, to move yourself towards what feels like a more inspired life. There's certainly a connection here between the ways in which you are going about your day, okay? So just as you walk through your day, as you live your day, how you are doing that, and the information, the interactions you're attracting, and also the insights that you're having as well. I am seeing the likelihood of a bit of a change of routine is something that ends up helping you tremendously. So, for example, and specifically one likely scenario for a lot of Leos out there is if you're normally a night person, I'm seeing that for some reason or another, you have to become a day person for a little while, and this ends up actually being really good for you. If you are the type of person who likes to eat a lot of very rich foods, then maybe a couple of days of really lightening it up could be the thing that allows you to shift your energy enough so that you are seeing things from another perspective. So, and there are a variety of ways that people go about shifting their energy: meditation, prayer, of course, exercise, yoga, and the list goes on and on. Whatever it is that you need to do to just adjust yourself differently enough so that you are paying attention to new things, new feelings, new awarenesses. All of that is going to help you to usher in the highest expression of this energy and the highest possibilities that are on offer now. It really is a very important insight that can lend itself to a very important new beginning, but more so an ending of sorts. And it does look like, you know, as I spoke in the intro, I talked about this idea of being washed clean from the inside. And that's very much the case for you. I mean, I think on a level of mind, on a level of psyche, you could really feel like you've lightened your load and are ready to really look forward to what's ahead with great anticipation. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week, I really like this energy that's building for you that has to do with creativity, that has to do with creations. And so there is one very surface way that this can manifest, and that has to do with kids, okay? So kids are one thing that we create together in the world, or at least with one other person in the world. And for you, if you have kids, this could manifest as just having a really great time with your kids and having a special moment and feeling their love and support and feeling a lot of hope for them and for their future, feeling like they are certainly bringing blessings into your life now and will be for the coming period as well. Those of you who want children, well, this is a time when you could feel very fertile and you could feel a lot of hope as well, that is certainly a strong possibility for you. And those of you who are not really looking at that area of life at all, which is an option for more and more of us, thankfully. I think a life of options is always an incredible thing. And so if that is not something that you are interested in right now or as part of your life path, then this energy may manifest, or even if you do have kids, this energy could also manifest as a way in which you are really thinking about your creative power. and what you're creating in your life, and if you like what you're creating or not. And I do think that this is a time when a really good idea could come up, a really brilliant idea, an idea that promises a lot of fulfillment, a lot of happiness, a lot of potential for success as well. It's going to be up to you to trust it and follow it, because it does look like it's going to be something that needs time to be nurtured. But if you can give it that little bit of attention, I do think that on the other side of the work, there is a lot of happiness and a very deep sense of fulfillment that is promised. But this is a time to really be paying attention to your ideas and what's joyful, what's fun, what's coming up, what it is that desires to be birthed and come forward from you going forward from here, and especially gives you insights into what is going to matter to you most in the coming year that is just really just a few days ahead. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week, there is a very strong focus on matters of home, but it looks very sweet. It looks like that's very much where your heart is right now, and it feels like the right place to be. But of course, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the fact that, and I've been telling you, Mars is moving through your sign for an unusually long time. This week is no exception. Mars continues to move through your sign. But what happens this week is Mars is standing across the sky in an exact conversation with Uranus. And so I do think that last week you would have been feeling the buildup of this conversation. This week it reaches a moment of perfection, if you will. And Mars is right now sort of dancing between Uranus and Pluto, and eventually getting to Jupiter as well. And so Mars in your sign, I mean, and all these very power conversations that Mars is having are really going to shift you deeply, shift your energy, change your direction, change what you understand matters to you most. And this week, it happens very much on a level of partnership, sort of exposing to you what you understand as love and how you ended up where you are in love. And if you like it, if you don't, because where you like it, I think that you are going to be ready to really have a deeper commitment to nest with this person, if you will. But those of you who find yourself really saying, wow, this isn't really what I want, this isn't who I am anymore, I think that you're going to find a lot of inspiration comes to you from the family, from the home front, for you to be able to make changes. But one thing is for sure, though, you are looking at other people and your love life very differently, slowly but surely. And in the process, you are coming to understand yourself more deeply. You're coming to understand what you need to feel safe. You're coming to understand also what it is that you desire to do in the world. So this week marks a very important part of a process that is actually going to continue in the weeks ahead. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week, there is a very strong element of you receiving messages. And so I've been speaking about this with you, that all this energy happening in Capricorn represents a part of the sky that has to do with messages and communications. And this is an energy that's very strong for you now. It does look like this week those messages and that energy takes on a very flirtatious tone, okay? And so you can decide how you're going to navigate that, how you're going to play that, given the light of your own circumstances. But it does look like there's a certain hope awakened within you. I'm seeing the flush of attraction awakened within you, the flutter, if you will, awakened within you, butterflies awakened. And you seem to like it very much. And of course, as I said, you can decide what direction it is that this is supposed to go. But understand this as part of the process. As I said in the intro, it isn't just the fact that we have the sun speaking harmoniously with Neptune, Mercury speaking harmoniously with Neptune. But what we also have is Venus retrograde right now. So whatever hope comes up, embrace it. It suggests very strong possibilities. And it suggests that you are really in the midst of learning about love. But more than that, learning about speaking of love, saying what you need to say, and feeling like you are being heard. I think you're going to find, if there's any conversation you've been putting off, anything you haven't wanted to say that felt a little difficult to actually say, this is a week when you get that courage to do that. Also, as a side note, I do want to say, because I'm reminded of sitting around with my friends and how sometimes we have the conversation, especially when you're out there, you're single. Sometimes I hear my friends have the conversations that, oh, wow, like thought I was going out with that person, but then they just stopped calling me, or I thought I had a really good time. They just stopped calling me. What should I do? And I think to myself as I look at this, that there's something very dignified about somebody who can actually say to another person, like, look, you're really awesome, but I'm not feeling this. This isn't for me. There is something that really is a great gift that you give the other person when you find that courage to be able to say that. And there's also a great gift that you give yourself when you accept that another person is saying that without needing to have them rationalize it any further. Just the fact that somebody took that effort to say that, to accept that as a gift that this person is giving you and say, okay, you know, I accept that. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to decide on my next choices and my next direction and look at where I am right now. And so I share this with you because, yes, in all honesty, there is that possibility that there's some endings happening, but more than anything, what I'm seeing is that it's more a time of speaking your truth, hearing the truth of others, and allowing that to fill your life with a lot of happiness, a lot of hope, a lot of possibility as well. I'm seeing this very much a time of you sort of looking at your life in ways that ultimately are very empowering as well, and ultimately are going to allow you to be the kind of person that you like more, that you respect more well into the future. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week, there's a very strong financial focus for you. So this is an energy that has been with you, is going to be with you, and is just sort of heightening now as we go forward more and more. And I've been speaking about this in the monthly horoscopes and in the different weeks as well as we've been going along. And I do think that this week does promise a sense of you really believing that you can achieve great things, that you can have prosperity, that you can work on your own behalf. And absolutely you can. I think that's one of the most special things about being a human being, is that you can do that. You do have that possibility. But having said that, I think that there's also something to be said for really understanding that some of the best things, they just sort of find you. The best inspirations can find you. And the most profitable ideas can come from the most unexpected sources as well. Sometimes sources that not only is it an element of you feeling that this person or this source is so great to have brought you this, but also sometimes it's through experiences that actually are a little bit challenging that can bring about the greatest prosperity as well. And this is the fine balance. This is part of the learning that's happening for you now. And so when I look at the sky for you this week, I would say embrace absolutely everything that happens for you, because I do think that you are moving towards greater prosperity. You are moving towards understanding what your most promising bet would be and experiencing a great payoff for that. And understand that whatever happens, right? Most of you are going to experience the energy this week as really, really good. But if you should have a moment, a slight moment that feels uncomfortable, understand it as part of the path towards greater prosperity. Even if it seems unrelated on the surface, it's actually all happening to move you towards greater abundance. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week, with all this energy building in your sign, it is the sun that's moved into your sign, as I spoke about in the intro. Mercury moving into your sign this week, as I spoke in the intro. And Venus now retrograde in your sign as well. I look at all this energy, and I do think that it's you that's shifting in big ways. It's you that's moving towards greater inspiration, greater promise, greater possibilities as well. I think that there's an energy here with you right now where you are starting to believe in yourself, in possibilities and dreams. And I think that when I say dreams, I don't necessarily mean what happens in the dream space, right? In dream time, although dreams might be a part of this. But more than that, what I'm seeing is that you just attract these really random, really inspiring conversations. You just run into the right people who you end up sharing with very spontaneously about who you are, what you want, what you're hoping for. And all of that just helps you to bring in a lot of really positive energy into your life. And so I would say to you, as I look at the sky, just be really open to the most random interactions. But more than that, keep it about you, because it really is about you and what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. Other people don't matter so much this week, unless they're people that you're just sort of meeting very randomly, as I said. Ultimately, the learning, the insights, the inspiration really comes down to you. And yes, there are sort of shifts happening on a level of home, on a level of career. Those are both part of long-term trends that are going to be with you into the new year. And understand that that energy is also part of you coming to a deeper understanding of self and what's going to matter to you now. Your goals and what rewards you seek and what's important to you change as you change, as I think is going to become very evident to you this week. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week, your ruling planet is, of course, Uranus. Your modern ruling planet is Uranus, standing across the sky in precision with Mars. And I look at this conversation and I look at the fact that you have this buildup of energy that represents the part of the sky for you that has to do with the unconscious, that has to do with deep parts of your psyche. It has to do with you sort of really allowing a lot of healing and a lot of ideas and a lot of inspiration to come up in the dream space, in the dream time, which necessarily requires surrender and sort of a release of the conscious self and the conscious drives and see what it is that's really motivating you. And I look at the sky, I look at these shifts that are taking place, and I do think that the likelihood of you sort of having some brilliant ideas through your dreams is very strong now. But more than that, what I'm seeing is the likelihood of you sort of attracting not only a conversation that changes everything, but really attracting experiences that show you what's really going on within you. But in a way that is actually an acknowledgement of your absolute best, an acknowledgement of your absolute hopes, your wishes, your dreams, an acknowledgement that actually, you know what, you're a lot more idealistic than maybe you've thought as of late. You're a lot more hopeful than you've thought as of late. And actually, you're a lot more inspired as well. And I'm looking at you just really, really lit up, if you will, thinking about words, thinking about communication, thinking about what it is that you have to share, and dreaming really big for what it is that is coming forward for you to share. I'm not seeing you just do something for the sake of doing it, even though that's part of the lesson. A big part of the lesson is what you will do in the privacy of your own time should matter to you as much as what you would do out in front of a large crowd or in front of the spotlight. And so while that lesson is being integrated, I do think that my goodness, I just see how lit up you are on a level of mind, on a level of ideas, on a level of brilliance, how lit up you are now on a level of just really believing that the creative ideas that are coming forward now hold the promise of really big breakthroughs, hold the promise of bigger audiences, bigger possibilities. And I look at all this and just the inspiration that's coming, and I would say to you, find a way to integrate your dreams into your ambitions. Because if you can do that, then I think that your unconscious will start working with your conscious more powerfully to move you towards greater success. I remember many years ago taking a seminar, and I wish I remembered the name of the person, with apologies, but I remember the lesson. And I remember he was talking about the importance of creating a bridge between the dream world and the real world. And so he spoke about actually, like, if you see yourself in a dream eating an apple, when you wake up, try to get your hands on an apple as soon as possible. Try to eat an apple as soon as possible. And he spoke about all these other little ways in which we can do things to move ourselves in a direction of creating a relationship, a conversation between the unconscious and the conscious. I do think that if you trust that process, if you're willing to do that now, you're actually going to find a way that that bridge creates not only a deeper harmony between the unconscious and the conscious, but actually creates a bridge moving you towards greater success, greater possibilities, greater prosperity, but also a greater sense of intellectual fulfillment as well, which is, I think, something that is an important part of your life path, is understanding that the mind is something that is special, that deserves to be honored, and that there is something to be said for saying a thing, for actually writing it out, for actually communicating a thing. There is something to be said of how transformative it can be to actually communicate. And how transformative it can be to actually believe that you are worthy of trusting your deepest impulses and trusting what it is that you desire to share in this life. Hello, fabulous Pisces. This week for you, considering that you have Neptune in your sign, as I've been speaking about for a long time now, receiving all this energy from Mercury, from the sun, Mercury being a symbol of mind, sun being a symbol of our will and our light, and where we find our light, where we shine the brightest. I do think that you are going to be one of those signs that finds it's really friends that help to facilitate this process. But more than that, I just think that this is such a great week for you to find inspiration in ideas, find inspiration in understanding the self and self-knowledge. Now, some people have called it self-knowledge or the pursuit of self-knowledge as navel gazing, but I do think that there's something to be said for understanding the self as a way to facilitate greater usefulness in the world. And, I've been meditating lately about, and I think that this is going to be very relevant for you, about this idea of how we talk about greatness, right? And this is something that is often quoted about, what it requires to be great. But there is something, a connotation there that can appeal to the ego when we talk about greatness. One other way of understanding greatness is usefulness. So instead of using the word greatness, to talk about usefulness, what it is that we need to do to feel useful in the world, and what it is that we need to trust, what impulses we need to trust to actually feel that we can be of greater use in the world. We can actually have greater impact as well. And by impact, again, it doesn't have to go back to this idea of greatness. It doesn't have to go back to this idea of, in order to have an impact, you have to be, some very high-ranking politician or great musician or whatever the case may be, whatever you think of as greatness. But however it is that you live your life right now, the people with whom you interact, the work in which you do, all of that can contribute to a life that is truly useful. And I think that this is an important distinction that's happening for you this week. And I think that you are going to get a chance to see aspects of ego, okay, and see where maybe some of your ambitions or aims have been coming from that place, which is a part of what we're here for. That is a part of the Earth School. I'm very much of the belief that learning about ego, what's healthy ego and what's not, is a part of why we've chosen to incarnate as human beings. And when we've integrated that lesson, when we've moved beyond ego, we have no more use for being here in the Earth School. We have no more use for being incarnated here, and we move on to whatever the next thing is. And so if you are asking yourself questions where it comes to ego and making distinctions, then you're utilizing your time here very well. You're utilizing the human experience for what it's meant to be utilized for, among other things, of course. But I do think that understanding healthy ego and unhealthy ego is a part of our great learning here. And I think that you take tremendous steps forward, leaps forward in this understanding and moving towards a healthy sense of ego this week. Well, thank you so much for watching. For so much more, visit my website, nadiyashah.com. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great month. Be fabulous and enjoy.